Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy, an attorney with Murray Osorio Immigration Attorneys. And today we are talking about options for immigrant spouses of US citizens or permanent residents who are abusive. Okay, so if your husband or wife is abusive with you, you probably have some immigration options. In this video, I'm talking about immigrants or undocumented people who are married to US citizens or permanent residents. If this is not the case for you, if you are married to someone who is also undocumented or who has some other immigration status and is abusive, then you can't qualify for what we're talking about today, VAWA, but you may qualify for a U visa or something else. So still worth speaking to an attorney about. For today, we're limiting the discussion to people who are married to US citizens or permanent residents. All right, so generally speaking, when all is going well, the US citizen's spouse or the permanent resident spouse will sponsor his or her husband or wife for a green card so that they can live together in the United States. Sometimes this doesn't always work out. In some instances, the couple is happily married. Perhaps the US citizen or permanent resident starts the sponsorship process, but then the marriage breaks down and becomes abusive. In other instances, the US citizen or permanent resident spouse never files anything for the immigrant or undocumented person. And that person may feel like they have no options, but this is generally not true. And this is where VAWA comes in. So VAWA is an acronym. It stands for Violence Against Women Act, but it actually offers protection to people of all genders. So men, women, non-binary people, not just women, okay? So you might qualify for VAWA if you are married to a US citizen or a permanent resident, or you were married to such a person and your marriage ended within the last 2 years, either by death or divorce. It doesn't matter. You do have to have lived with that spouse or be living with that spouse currently. And the spouse subjected you to extreme cruelty or battery. Okay, so what does that mean? Generally, here we're talking about abuse, but it doesn't necessarily have to be physical abuse. So types of activities or types of actions that can meet the criteria for extreme cruelty or battery will include physical abuse. So hitting, kicking, punching, pushing, choking, any of those things. But it can also you can also meet the standard with a variety of other activities, such as threats to do any of those things. Threats of harm in any form, you should discuss with your lawyer. Serious types of control can also be abusive. So if you are married to someone who, for example, monitors your every movement or doesn't allow you to leave the house without permission, things like that. This can also include financial control. So if you are not allowed to get a job or you have to give your entire paycheck to your spouse, and you're not allowed money for your own personal necessities, those types of things can be an indication of abuse. Same with making immigration related threats. So if your spouse is threatening to deport you when you get in a fight, threatening to call ICE if you don't do X, Y, Z, whatever, then those can be indicators of abuse. So because this is a little bit specific, I really recommend that you chat this through with your lawyer to see if what's going on in your relationship might meet the standard for VAWA. The other criteria for VAWA is that you are a person of good moral character. So generally speaking, you will demonstrate that you either don't have a criminal record or that your criminal record is minimal and you've rehabilitated yourself. Or this happens with a lot of VAWA applicants. There might be mutual allegations of domestic violence. So perhaps you called the police on your spouse and then your spouse countercharged you. So if you do have a criminal record or you do have a history of interactions with the police, don't automatically disqualify yourself at all. Just talk it through with your lawyer. Other ways to show good moral character are that you filed your taxes, for example, that you take really good care of your kids, that you are a good employee, that you are a good colleague at work, or anything like that. So, when you're actually ready to file this, um, a couple of things. Whether or not your spouse has filed anything for you before doesn't matter. If your spouse, for example, filed the I-130 for you and then called USCIS and withdrew it and said whatever they said about you, don't worry about this. This actually comes up a lot with my clients, and it's something that we can overcome working together. Okay. Um, it might change the process slightly, like with your green card application, but just talk through your lawyer with it. And you're going to need to collect some documents for this petition, and because you have to present proof that you were battered or subjected to extreme cruelty. So, some of the ways that we can do that are through a personal statement that you write with the help of your lawyer, explaining the circumstances of your marriage and the different instances of mistreatment that you experienced. Sometimes people will have met with a therapist who can also attest to the mistreatment that occurred during the marriage. Police reports, if they exist, but this is not a requirement. Police reports are not a requirement for VAWA. Similar, you could also use witness letters from friends or family members that know about your marriage. You'll also need proof that you were legally married to this person and proof of your spouse's status in the United States as either a citizen or a permanent resident. And you should also know that VAWA comes with a lot of benefits. And so, one main benefit is that you can include all of your unmarried children under age 21. With a VAWA application, you'll file two forms. There's an I-360 and an I-485. The I-485 is the green card application. Once the I-360 is approved, which usually happens faster than the green card application, you and your derivative kids will get employment authorization. Another big benefit to VAWA is that it often also gives you the possibility to access a lot of government benefits that then won't affect you when you go to apply for your green card. So, all of this to say, if you are in a relationship that is not going well, where you're being mistreated or subjected to cruelty, I highly recommend that you speak with a lawyer and not be feeling like you don't have any options because you're undocumented or because you're an immigrant or whatever, and that your spouse holds all the power because of that, as that is just not true. So, hopefully, now you know that you have some options and you will come and speak with one of our attorneys to talk this through so that we can potentially help you out. Thank you.